Morning students. Today we are going to start class 7th SST History, chapter number 8, Religious Beliefs and Popular Movements, part 1. So student, in this video we'll learn about the different religious beliefs that is practiced in India, and according to that religious beliefs, what were the popular movements which were led during that time. So basically, the two beliefs which were prevailed during the medieval period of Indian history or Indian subcontinent were the Bhakti movement and the Sufi movement. The medieval period of Indian history was marked by the fusion of numerous cultural streams, new religious ideas and beliefs, along with the emergence of religious teachers who emphasize intense devotion to God. Basically, this time was the period where the new beliefs, new ideas were came into existence, which requires the religious teachers, and that religious teachers make the people to emphasize the intense devotion to the God. So, uh, new mythologies, new cult, religious rituals, and which resulted as a form of symbolic relations between Hindus and the tribal groups led to the emergence of the Puranic Hinduism. In fact, the incorporation of local deities and cult reflects the assimilative character of Puranic and Hinduism. So basically, you have already heard several stories from the several Purans where the Hinduism is prevailed, and the Hinduism is directly and indirectly relatable to the people, those who are belongs to the tribal communities. You already heard, you may be heard at several stories which recited about the not only the Hindu mythologies, also the tribal communities which were the part of those. So these were the tribal communities which later on become the part of these bhakti movements and the different religious movement, and took part in several activities which uplifted them in the coming scenario. The Bhakti movement and the Sufis or the Sufi movement were the popular religious movement that gained importance during this period. And this new idea affected the religious ideology, beliefs, rituals, and cult of Hinduism and Islam. Means that these ideas it strike on not only the the religious belief and ideology, but also it also strike on the rituals which were prevailed during that time. Now let us start with the topic that is given in your book. That is the first topic it is given, the Bhakti movement. Starting with the term Bhakt, that is derived from the Sanskrit word which means bhaj. That means devotion to the supreme entity with exceptional power or knowledge. So Bhakt means that comes from bhaj. Bhaj means devote yourself to the God by enchanting their name or by praising something. So that person whosoever is doing the um, whosoever is devoting themselves to towards the God, that person will consider it as a bhakt. Any meditation between the worshipper and God, mediation and between the worshipper and God by priest was excluded. Okay, earlier time the priest was the main part of the society, and the priests were the middleman which connected the worshipper with the God. But during the Bhakti movement, these kind of activities were prohibited. Means the priests were not become the part of these things. The propagation of Bhakti ideology was by the saints as a hymn and couplets. So basically, they used to utter hymns and couplets, some rhymes, we can say some dohas and all there. So they used to sing on that basis, and that gives the social participation, because the local people can also attract from uh, these couplets and hymns, and also this gives the religious equality and liberal ideas. Religious equality means that everybody is free to choose or choose these movements, and liberal ideas, that is different from the Hindu mythological or the Islamic rules. So both are different from these. So that is why many people attracted through the Bhakti movement and Sufism, and especially Bhakti movement. So people started connecting with them with the Bhakti movement. The origin of Bhakti movement can be traced back to the Brahmanical and Buddhist tradition of ancient India. So many Brahmanicals as well as Buddhist tradition, or the books which were written during the Buddhist Lord Gautam Buddha. So those books were also used to um, worship the god, which is to be direct worshipped, not by the priest. Ancient texts like Upanishad, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, they always speak about devotion, devote yourself to one supreme God. The socio-economic milieu of the period uh, led to the emergence of Bhakti movement. So that was the time the uh, where the Bhakti movement took place. So the socio and economic changes were also visible during that time. How this possible? The society is also going to change themselves accordingly, which is beneficial for them. Means that which is suitable for them, which is beneficial for them, people had understand during that time, and they adopted the Bhakti movement. Here the different traders, craftsperson and peasants, they also attracted through the Bhakti movement, and they also migrated toward the cities. So these people, those who belongs to these communities, not from the priestly communities, the traders, the craft person and peasants, these all were which were the common people, or we can say the lower caste people. The people those were considered as lower caste, they had also joined these movement, where they get the free free from the rules and regulation which is implemented by these priestly groups. They adopted the rejection of caste system, where they cannot be categorized as a caste on the basis of the caste, and rituals which were prevailed during the medieval period, before the medieval period as well, like doing yagnas, doing spending a lot of money for making uh, making sacrifices and all. So these were banned during the Bhakti movement. Many poetic compositions were made. Several gurus were there, several saints were there, like Kabir, Guru Nanak, Tulsidas, Chaitanya. These all were the people those who questioned the oppression of the common people by local kings and the higher caste. So they always been asked, the Kabir, they always try to ask, like Kabir, Guru Nanak, Tulsidas or Chaitanya. There are many more we'll read in this topic. So they all were always questions from the society, that why these people, or the people those who belongs to the lower caste, why they were always being suppressed, or if they were neglected from the worshipping the god, or doing a specific rituals. The Bhakti movement surfaced in the South India and was disseminated by Alvars and Nanas. So, the origin or the starting of the Bhakti movement was probably that came during that time. That was in the South India, especially done by the Alvars and Nanas. So here, Alvars and Nanas were the main communities, or the cult of Hinduism, or we can say Bhakti movement. Those gives the birth to the uh, bhakti and the bhaktis, where the bhakt can do the bhakt can devote themselves to the god. They disregarded religious austeries and preached personal devotion to the god as the root of salvation. So if you need to get salvation, so you should have to preach by your own personal, not by other priest. So these two people, these two cult, like Alvar and Nanar. So basically, Alvar were the devotee of Vishnu. They were also known as Vaishnavite, and the the Nanars were the devotee of Lord Shiva, or known as Saivites. So Vaishnavites or Saivites, or the devotee of the Shiva. So these two cults were prevailed during the medieval period, and these two had started a popular movement. A preacher of Bhakti movement in South India could belongs to any caste. So this is the most important part of the Bhakti movement, was that the anybody from any religion, anybody from any caste could take part in the Bhakti movement. Similarly, from any caste, the people can join the Bhakti movement. And earlier the women were not allowed to do worshipping or devoting themselves to the god. These were also allowed during that time. They were allowing women to took part in that. They went from one place to another, composing the execute poem in praise of the deities, entering in the villages and set them to music. So basically, these people, these bhakti movements, or the bhakts, those, they travel from one place to another. And why they travel? So that they can sing, they can enchant the names of the god, as well as they makes different songs which praises the god. So these songs were in the local languages, which is easily understood by the local peoples. So that is why these poems, and we can say these prayers, which is created by these saints, or the bhakti movement people, that were that was used by the common people in the common languages like Tamil, Kannada, Telugu. And the main part was also that they had the simple and easy life. So in all, we can see that the main feature of bhakti was the unity of god, or one god, through uh, though known by the different names. So there is a god, they all are united, or they all are one god, but by the different name. Bhakti, intense love and devotion, only way to salvation. So you have to devote yourself in intense love, and devotion is required for the salvation, to to the meeting to the god. It is very required in the bhakti movement. The repetition of true names, so whatever the god you are enchanting, that should be repeated several times. Self surrender, you should have to self surrender yourself to the god, and don't live a separate life from the common people. Condemnation of rituals, ceremonies, and blind faith. So whatsoever the ceremonies and rituals were uh, were practiced before that, that should also be banned. That was also one of the important feature of bhakti. Rejection of idol worship by many saints. So many saints had rejected the idol worship. Idol worship means murti puja. So many saints had rejected the idol worship. Mindedness of the about deciding the religious matter. So religious matter should be decided open mindedly. If you are narrow mindedly, you cannot discuss, you cannot debate against your religious topic. So there should be open mind, which can be helpful for deciding the religious matter. No distinction of caste or higher or low. So there is no caste type of equality, and inequality is prevail during the medieval period. People are considered as equal, whether they belongs to the lower caste or whether they belongs to the upper caste. Need of guru is very important. So guru or the teacher is very required in the bhakti movement. Preaching through local and regional languages and traveling from place to place for spreading the religious masses. So first of all here you had read that the preaching through local and regional languages. Why the saints use the local or regional languages for preaching their religious masses? The reason is that these languages were or are easily understood by the common people, those who were literate or illiterate. Both kind of people can easily understand their common language. Now, as you can see the picture where they there you can see the different alvar and nanar. So alvars were the devotee of the Vishnu, or the nanars which were devotee of the Lord Shiva, which praise and enchant the name of their own god. So this is the cult which was divided from the Hindu religion, and these cults has their different faith and different rituals, minor rituals, but they have the same goal. Same goal is what? That to achieve the God salvation. Now, moving towards the next, some let us see some of the saints which were famous during that time, starting with the Adi Sankaracharya. So, Adi Sankaracharya was born in poor family, but the family in which he born, it was a Brahmin family, pious Brahmin family, pure Brahmin family in Kerala. Sankaracharya is remembered as one of the first Hindu thinker who conducted a re-examination and reformation of the Vedic philosophy. So Vedas, which were Vedas, what are the things are written in Vedas, that is known as Vedic philosophy. He conduct a re-examination. What is the meaning of re-examination? Means he recreate the Vedic philosophy on the which is easily understandable by the common people, so that they can understand, that what the Vedas are trying to say. As a young boy, he showed a high degree of scholarship by mastering the four Vedas. So, at the very young age, he mastered all of the four Vedas. Means he had a command on Vedas, four Vedas. His teaching laid stress on significance of Upanishadic knowledge in the attainment of the God. So he always laid stress on the Upanishad knowledge, so provide the which provide the nearness to the God. And his philosophy, what he had given after re-examination of the Vedas, that philosophy is known as Vedanta. So Vedanta is the philosophy which is given by the Adi Sankaracharya. For giving his education, for propagating his philosophy, he founded a four mutt. Mutt is a monastic, or we can say monastery, which is created by Adi Sankaracharya, where he can preach his teaching, where he can preach his Vedanta philosophy among his disciples, like Sringeri, that is a mutt which is in the Karnataka. Dwarka, it is in Gujarat. Puri, that is in Odisha. Jyotirmath, that is in Uttarakhand. So these are some of the mutt or the monasteries which provide the uh, education or the philosophy of the Vedanta. The next saint which were famous during that time was the Ramanuja. So Ramanuja, he was a Vaishnav saint, and he was born in Tamil Nadu in 11th century, and he was known as the uh, key proponent of the Bhakti philosophy. So Ramanuja was a person who supported and spread a Bhakti philosophy, and he believed in the equality of all human beings. He does not discriminate on the basis of the caste, and spoke against the practice of forbidding lower caste in the entry of temple. So this was the Ramanuja Vaishnav saint who talk against about the he fought against about the practice of entering of the lower caste into the temple. Ramanuja preached the doctrine of Visist Advait. Visist Advait means a qualified oneness. Qualified oneness means where the soul united with the Supreme God. Okay, so the Visist Advait, what Visist Advait was the philosophy or the doctrine where he asked the people to unite their soul to the Supreme God. So that is only possible when you have when you had given your 100% by worshipping the God, by enchanting their name, uh, by practicing meditation. Then only you are eligible to attain united, or we can say you can unite yourself towards the God by doing these. The next famous saint during that time was the Madhwacharya. He was born in village of Udupi in Karnataka, and he chose the path of renunciation and monastic life at very young age. So during when he was very young, he left his house and he started living the renunciation and monastic life. Means he started living the monasteries, and he also established several mutt, like he established 8 mutt, which is uh, developed as well as where his philosophies were teach among his disciples. According to him, a person's caste is contingent upon his or her nature and not upon the birth in a particular family. So he tell one important line that the person's uh, person's caste is not important. The important is that what he do. So this is the philosophy of Madhvacharya, where he always says that the persons is not identified by his by the by his caste in which he took the birth. The person is identified by his work, what he did for the society, not for the caste and not for the religion. What he did for the society, that is to be recognized. Recognized. This is the saying of the Madhvacharya during that time. He also taught that the devotion to God was prime importance of one's life. So devote yourself towards the God. This should be important uh, thing of the people, those who are practicing the Bhakti movement. The next one is the Veer Sevas. So Veer Sevas were the people, those who were the part of the Savites. Savites means we can say they are the part of Nanars which worship the Lord Shiva. But the concept here is that these Veer Sevas, Veer Sevas were the belongs to the one of the community that is the known as Lingayat. Lingayat is a community that is a part of Nanars, where the Lingayats kept the ling of Shiv, or the small uh, sculpture of a Lord Shiva, or the lingam, the holy lingam, into their hand, or keeping in a box, or tying on their hand, or keeping in the neck. So these are the important part of the Veer Sevas or the Lingayat community. This concept is started by Basavanna. Basavanna, he was the social reformer during that time, and he considered as the founder of this religion. People from several social background, such as from the lower caste or the tribal communities, people as well as women, they they are invited, or we can say they are uh, if they're willing to come and join the Lingayat community, so they can. The next topic we have to read in this scenario, that is the Saint of Maharashtra. So in the western part of the Indian subcontinent, which were the main saints with during the medieval period, and what they did, let us see in this topic. So first top during the in the Maharashtra, there were number of Bhakti saints who contributed to the spread of this movement. So not only in the South India, the movement also led to the western part of the India, where the many of the saints, they took active participation in the Bhakti movement, like Gyaneshwar or Janeshwar, Namdev, Eknath, Sakkubai, Tukaram. So these were the people, those who uh, took part in this movement, and these are the preacher of Lord Vishnu, or the Lord Vitthal, or the Lord Vishnu. So these were the people who were the part of worshipping the Lord Vishnu. Let us begin with the Janeshwar or Gyaneshwar. So Gyaneshwar wrote a Gyaneshwari. It is a Marathi commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So this was the important uh, work that is done by the Gyaneshwar. That is the Gyaneshwari, and it is the Marathi version of the Bhagavad Gita. The another two famous saints were Namdev and Tukaram. These are also very uh, they were also known for their devotional poems. They also wrote several poems regarding the god which they praise. The god is Vitthal. The Marathi poet saint focus on the notion of the personal god residing in the hearts of the all people. So they always used to say that the god is always been reside in the people's heart, and they rejected all forms of ritualism and social differences based on the earth. So they do not follow any kind of rituals, and they they always opposed the social differences that is based on the caste, or the based on the birth. They also rejected the idea of renunciation and preferred to live with their families. So as I told you, the Madhwacharya, he lived life of renunciation, where he separate himself from the main society. But the saints which were from the Maharashtra, they said that the renunciation life is not important for the Bhakti movement or praising the God. They lived with their family, as well as they earn for their family, so that their families can survive. So this is done by the several saints during the medieval period. They also emphasize a new humanist idea of sharing one's another pain. So they had also started one of the concept where they shares the one another's pain. Means that the uh, pain should be bear up by the other person. Means there they're talking about the helping of the people which is in the pain, which the person is in pain, whether they are physically needed, or whether they are economically needed. So the if a saint is there, if a person is there who is kind hearted, the person should have to help the person which is not eligible to help themselves or to help their family. Now moving toward the saint of the North India. So there were many famous saints were also there in the North Indian area, where during the 15th and 16th century, very lot of peoples were become the part of the Bhakti movements, like the Nath Panthis. They challenges the caste system and the supremacy of Brahmins, had many followers. So Nath Panthis were one of the community which challenged to the caste system. So they asked that the caste system should not prevail in the society. This should be removed by the people. Also, And the another interesting feature of the Bhakti movement in the north was the emphasis of syncretism. Syncretism means the mixture, or we can say the mixture of the uh, god, as well as opposing the rituals and practices which were prevailed during that time. So uh, they wanted to they do not want to they do not want to paid more interest in the ritual and other practices. They always try to remove those things and focuses on the meditation and the and chanting the god's name. The arrival of Islam and Sufism, which with its idea on equality and brotherhood, influenced the Bhakti saints in the north. So, when the Bhakti movement is going in the northern India, so during that time also many Islamic invaders came and they started residing in India. They brought a new cult from their side, that is the Sufism or the Sufi. That also influences the Bhakti movement a lot in the medieval period during in the northern India. In fact, many Bhakti and Sufi saints merged the elements of both Hinduism and Islam. So these two are separate religion become one or become united, so that the people of the northern Indian they can easily adopt the ideology of these topics. uh, Now let us see some of the Bhakti saints of during that time, those who accept the Nirguna form of worship. What is the Nirguna form of worship? Nirgun form of worship means where they rejected the ideal worshipping. Ideal worshipping means the Murti puja. They rejected the Murti puja, like Kabir, Guru Nanak. They always rejected the uh, Sagun form of bhakti. They always accepted the Nirgun form of bhakti. Now moving towards the uh, some of the saints which were prevailed during that time, like Ramanand was there. So Ramanand was a popular bhakti saint, and he was a follower of Ramanuja, a Vaishnav saint who was born in Tamil Nadu. Ramanand resided in Banaras. He substituted the worship of Rama in a place of Vishnu. He always asked to worship the Ram. He also disregarded the ban of people of different caste cooking and eating their meals together, and spread his doctrine of bhakti to all four varnas. So Ramanand always asked people to cook and eat together, share their meals, and he also spread the doctrine of bhakti, the features of bhakti towards the all of the people, all of the varnas, whether the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. His famous disciples were Ravidas, Kabir, Sen, Sadhana. They belongs to different communities. Like Ravidas was a cobbler, Kabir was a weaver, Sen was a barber, Sadhana was a butcher. So they all belongs to the different communities, or they belongs to the lower caste communities, but they were the disciple of Ramananda, and he did not discriminate against them. One of the disciple of Ramanand was Ravidas. He was a cobbler by the caste, and he was born in 15th century, and he was considered as socio-religious reformers. He also spread a several idea regarding the Bhakti movement, as well as the casteism, where the casteism should not be prevailed in the society. He was a poet, he was a spiritual thinker, so he had several qualities, and he also adopted he also adopted the Bhakti movement. He believed that one's actions rather than birth distinguish from his others. So, what the one person is doing, this should be this should separate from the people's, not by the birth. Means the person is not divided, or the person is recognized by the birth. The person is recognized by their work. If you did a good work, so you were definitely recognized as a good person. If you did wrong thing, so definitely you are recognized as a wrong person. So your work is the or you we can say your action is a thing which distinguish from the others, um, that distinguish, or we can say that separate you from the other people. He vehemently opposed the inhuman practice of untouchability. He always opposed the untouchability, as well as he advocate the god should be accessible to everyone. Means that everybody can easily access to god, everybody easily uh, pray to the god. Now this uh, for today, this is uh, the topic that we have to discuss, and in the next video we'll read about the other famous saint, as well as the women saints and the Sufi movements. Now your homework is that you have to write the South Indian cult that was divided into Alvar and Anar, that you have to write in your copy. Thank you, students.